bitterness is a deep subject, and for projectors, because it is our not self, or not self indication. When we are not in alignment, when we are not in the correct environment, when we are not being seen or recognized, bitterness is the alerting system. And of all the types, for manifestors, it's anger; for reflectors, it's disappointment; for generators, it's frustration. Of all the types, bitterness is the most, probably the most vindictive. Is that the word? It's the most strategic. It's the most, like revenge sort of filled, where when you experience bitterness, you want to retaliate and you want to lash out. And I don't really have any of the big fancy words that I would use to describe, how I would compare bitterness to the other ones. The other ones, you kind of experience it personally and then, I don't know, let it go. Or, well, maybe anger, you lash out. But bitterness definitely has a level of strategy and willing to wait out to enjoy the repercussion of whatever you're bitter about. And I had this experience very recently, that really demonstrated to me where I needed to let go of. I was actually asking the question, what is it that I'm letting go of? Because I keep feeling like I'm moving into this new narrative and new paradigm of like who I really am, and letting go of who I thought I should have been. But there's still some strings, and I can feel it, still a few things kind of holding me into that old narrative. And I was actually listening to Taylor Swift, where I could really feel the bitterness. She's a projector, although we don't have her birth time, so it's a big chance she's a projector, minimal chance she's a manifester. And weighing up the two types and seeing how she is in the world, I'm voting projector. Also because we don't really hear a lot of anger in her music. We hear a lot of bitterness, and her latest album, definitely I'm feeling that bitterness vibe. So for me, how bitterness is such a great gift for us, and how we can see it to help us in our journey, in our lives as projectors, is to witness when we're feeling bitter. And I think I don't really need to go in to describe how it feels, because it's pretty obvious. Like this sadness mixed with anger, mixed with like victimhood. There's definitely like a victimhood in there of like, I worked this hard, why didn't I get this opportunity? And to me, that just matches in with that old paradigm of like, the mind is like, you work hard, you hustle, you drive, and you manifest. And it's like, yeah, that's just going to, cause a lot of bitterness and disappointment in our lives, because that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to completely crush ourselves in the pursuit of some sort of idea of success that we think is what's going to bring us happiness. And once again, if we look at Taylor Swift, she is the definition of success. And in her latest album, she tells everyone, I'm miserable and no one even knows. So, does that really, that kind of idea of success, what does success actually mean for us? Anyway, that's the signature for projectors, by the way, is success. So back to the bitterness, and how I saw a post on social media of someone who said that they were doing a job that was created for the Eras Tour, and it was a job that I would have loved to have done, a piece of work that I didn't know was going to exist, because the topic that I talk about in that old world was a new topic, and I was kind of one of the leaders of discussing this topic. I wrote an article on it. Then I wrote national guidance. Not many people can say that. So this is where the bitterness comes in. I wrote national guidance. I went to different countries and talked about the importance of this topic and how it relates to Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. I even wrote an article that took 10 months about Taylor's crowds and their behavior at the Eras Tour. So I was like doing all this work to be like, this is me grafting and me working hard to be recognized, to be seen, which is what projectors, we all want to be recognized and seen. And then this piece of work that I would have loved to have done and worked really hard for so long to build up to be ready for that opportunity did actually exist and was given to somebody I don't know, somebody that my colleagues don't even know. And did they put in all that work that I did to get this piece of work? Don't know. They definitely didn't write national guidance. And so I don't know who this person is at all. And it has nothing to do with them. This is the whole crux of it. It's how I feel and how I reacted. And it was perfect in that old paradigm of like the mind, the ego, this dualistic world. It's like, I worked really, really hard. Why didn't I get this opportunity? Why did it go to this nobody? Why did it go to someone who, quote unquote, didn't work that hard or just got landed in it and I did all this work and they didn't and blah, 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 blah. And the old sexism comes in there. He's a man, I'm a woman, so therefore it's a man's world and he's given it and I'm not. And so it's very much like this victim thing. And it just knocked me out of my body. Like I felt my energy just shoot up from my body into my head, into my mind, where, trying to solve it. I was then going to contact the person being like, I've done all this work, like give me an opportunity. And then I was like, no, this is a terrible idea. And actually to step back and realize this world isn't for you. This is not your environment. You are not being recognized. So go to another environment. It's like the universe. I see this projector, the bitterness thing, as the universe going, just stop going down that road. Stop. No, don't go that. Why is she not listening? So this alerting system to you are not in the correct environment. You need to be over here where you will be seen or wherever, which I don't know. But you are not in the correct environment. You are not going to be seen, recognized, respected if you keep on making noise in this environment. And of course, it's what the mind wants, right? Because it wants us to be stuck in trying to prove ourselves, trying to fake it till we make it, trying to grind and hustle and make opportunities. We can't make opportunities because everything we do depends on someone else. And kind of segueing into something that I read in Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, where he basically saying like human intuition can't be trusted. Everything needs to be decided on algorithms. Even he says, right, the most scientists of all scientists who has these amazing, wording. He passed away this year and he is was one of the leading psychologists and scientists in how people make decisions, how people behave. An incredible human. And in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, where he's even, he made friends with Gary Klein, who was the recognition prime decision model, basically that experts' intuition is correct. And Daniel Kahneman's going, intuition is incorrect and algorithms are, the facts are better. And he takes the success of Google and he's saying, Google didn't make any of this success, the guy, Sergey and the other guy. It was a sequence of good luck, fortunate moments and opportunities that came to them that they could never have orchestrated. And this is what he said, when things go well, it's down to good luck. That's how in the scientific world, that you can't create that. And so if you look at the success of anybody, it's an opportunity that has come to them. Like you can't make anyone, force anyone to invest in you, force anyone to buy a product from you. I mean, you can kind of try, but people are drawn to who you are and the energy of who you are to want to invest in you or to want to, So this kind of segue to this thing that we think that we can kind of force things to make it. And actually, there's nothing that we need to do, because this is the crux of it, is that we're already perfect as we are. And actually, I was going out there trying to make it, national guidance, writing articles, doing podcasts. I was working so hard to try and like build this name for myself, to fill this role that I created, because I didn't feel that I was okay just as I am. I got master's degrees, I got this and that and the other thing to try and prove myself that when I get this, then I'll get work, then I'll be recognized, then I'll be respected, then I'll be seen, then I'll be invited to the table. And now I'm learning that if I continue down that path, I will just be bitter and miserable for the rest of my life, because I will never be seen. And I will work so hard to be seen, and I just won't. And why would I want to spend the rest of my life trying to get recognized by people who will never recognize me, when actually there is an environment somewhere in the world where I will be recognized, I will be seen, and I will be respected for what I have to offer. And this goes the same for every single person. Like, are we barking up the wrong tree? Are we in the wrong environment? You know, why hang around people who don't respect you? So, back to the bitterness. I felt so upset. I felt sick. And only earlier that morning, I felt so grounded in my body and so happy. And nothing in my external circumstance changed. It was all internal. All of a sudden, I felt less than. All of a sudden, I felt sad. All of a sudden, I felt like I wasn't good enough and that I was going to have to work even harder to try and get these opportunities. And sad that all I wanted was to hang out with Taylor Swift and consult in her Eras tour, and now I'm not going to. And yeah, that's sad. And it's just for me to process. And was it really that I wanted to consult in her tours as a crowd safety consultant? Or was it that I saw that she's being recognized and I just wanted to be recognized? I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be acknowledged. And actually, would I rather be acknowledged for being me than being a role? And I wonder, is that part of her allure? Is that she's seen and recognized, and people see that in her, and it's like, there is a chance for us that we will get that recognition one day. And for me, what I'm learning is that that recognition can only come externally when I recognize myself. And so in that morning that I felt, the morning of this whole debacle, I was writing, and I wrote this, I found a new blog, Bear Blog it's called, and it's just clean and simple, and there's no distractions, and human design for my need and motivation. It's beautiful because it just keeps me on track, and there's no comparison. I'm not comparing myself because I'm not on social media. It's not noisy. It's just me, Markdown, my blog. And I just felt so much joy that I was finally writing again for the pure enjoyment of writing. And I was writing what I was feeling, and I was writing stuff that came to me, rather than trying to write these research articles that I thought other people would respect me because I was writing research articles. And it kind of took away from my love of writing, and it took away from the flow, because it wasn't me, it was this role, this old narrative, this old paradigm that I was trying to fulfill. I've been doing this work in this old narrative for 17 years, and I have worked so hard and I have gotten nowhere. So, after 17 years is now the time for me to go, maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. And especially after this specific, very specific niche piece of work that I would have loved, that probably I would have been the only one people would have thought of to gone like, Issei does this transport in Zone X and is a Taylor Swift fan and has studied Taylor Swift crowds. Like, if anyone was to be right for it, it would have been me. And then for it to go to someone who nobody knows and wouldn't have that specific investment in it. Maybe they do. I don't know them. But it's just a very clear example of the universe now holding up a placard going, stop going down this route. Let it go. Let it go. And the bitterness, it was palpable. Oh, I felt sick. I just felt awful. And I was really really digging into that victim mentality, you know, of like, I'm the competent one, they're not, and I'm a woman and they're not. Like, just pick from the list and just throw them all at, you know, because, and the mind was loving it because it had me in the grips of its power. So it took me a while, you know, when, especially as an emotional authority, it takes a while for that energy to calm down and to come back to myself and to remember that, hey, you're so okay just as you are. And what you have to offer is just what's in your heart. It's nothing else. Because what's in your heart is the unique gift that you are here to give. Just like everyone in the world. Like, what we have to offer the world, we have already. We don't need to attain. I think that's the trick, is we're being played, is that we have to go out there and be like something in order to be accepted, when actually we just need to be ourselves. That's scary. But I'm doing it because I feel like this is my contribution to the world, going through this whole mess and sharing it publicly. So, you know, because if we can demonstrate that it's possible, and then maybe other people might find that they can do it too. So I'm now at this place where I was kind of holding on to that old way, and I really see that I need to let it go. And that's sad. I feel sad. I feel grief, because I put a lot of work into this industry and I do love events. Some of my most amazing memories are from the work that I've done. You know, I've worked on the Olympic Games, Rugby World Cups, I've many different major sport events. You know, I've created beautiful little festivals, and from, you know, creating this amazing place for people to gather from scratch. I delivered London St. Patrick's Day, which for an Irish woman is a proud moment. And I booked Bosco and what's his name? The Northern Irish actor. I always forget. Great, it won't come to me. Anyway, and I've got a lovely picture of me and him and Bosco, and it's such a lovely, proud moment. And anyone now watching who's not from Ireland is like, who is Bosco? So Google Bosco. Bosco is an institution. And, you know, and some random kind of experiences like escorting Usain Bolt in Glasgow airport to the luggage belt. I've met some really amazing famous people as well. I did a human shamrock on Trafalgar Square for St. Patrick's Day. So like, I've done some really fun things, and that's not to say that I will never go back to events, because my heart believes in the power of gathering and bringing people together and creating safe containers. You know, that's where my interest in safety is, because if you create that safe container, then you have the power to be yourself. And this is what I'm learning in my own experience, is that when I first started out, I did not feel safe to be myself. I thought I was going to get killed or burned to the stake or judged or whatever. And now I feel safe to be myself. And now, well, I still would not, I don't want to be burnt at any stake, but if people judge me, then they judge me. And I know people are judging me and are angry at me for the decisions I've made, but because I made them and they were correct for me, I stand firm. And it's like, you have every right to be angry. You've every right to be annoyed. That's your stuff to process. And yes, there are things where, like, of course, I don't want to ever go out of my way to upset someone. And I still, you know, get upset if I upset someone, but, you know, working through that. So, but I do feel like I can be me. And maybe one day there's like this idea of like this festival that is really accessible and family friendly, and like everyone can attend and have a really good time and be home with their bag of chips in bed by 10. And making like events and festivals more accessible, even like from different perspectives, and that they can be a really lovely time, but we don't have to go out of our way and put our safety at risk or our well-being at risk to enjoy these events. So, maybe that will come one day. And I still have all of this knowledge, in the crowd safety, and does anyone want to tap into it? I don't know. But I need to just let that go and know that it's not gone to waste. And I still have learned so much about myself and about how people behave. So it's a natural interest anyway. And that I just don't know what's going to happen next. One thing I did during the pandemic was train as a Pilates teacher, which I had interest since I was really young. So, is that my future? I have absolutely no idea. And that's the scary thing, is I think I was holding on to these last straggling bits because I don't know what's ahead. I don't know where this is going. But I know now that this world I have been fighting for a place in is not my world. And thanking the bitterness for alerting me, and not seeing the bitterness as something to latch onto to just make the narrative go deeper. Like, I'm bitter, so now I need to like make my, be louder and make my stand even louder and shout louder about, trying to get an opportunity or be rescued by someone, waiting for someone to come and give me an opportunity. But seeing as the bitterness as, I need to stop what I'm doing, I need to step away, and I need to investigate, okay, I'm feeling bitter. What happened that triggered the bitterness? What can I reflect on? What can I learn from that? Where am I not being seen? Where am I putting effort in where it's not being reciprocal, And it's leaky energy because it's not coming back. It's just going out the whole time. So, one of the things that Ras said about projectors is that we're all in debt because we're borrowing energy the whole time because we're not waiting for the invitation. And I'm like, can attest to that. So with my experience with that blowout the other day, I went to like go down the rabbit hole and latch onto the story that the bitterness triggered rather than recognizing the bitterness and then letting go. I went to like write this person a message being like, give me this opportunity. Here's all the things that I've done because I'm so passionate about this subject. And actually, like, I was kind of advised, that doesn't sound very you. It sounds very like desperate. Do you really want to send that message? Actually, no. And just disengage and step away and go outside and kind of reflect on what the bitterness is alerting me to. Just like anger is an alerting system that our boundaries have been crossed. Bitterness for projectors is an alerting system that we are not being recognized. And the antidote to that is not to then keep going and shouting louder to be recognized, because that's just the other side of the same coin. The antidote to that is step away completely and start going, do I need to let go of this? Do I need to completely walk away and let go of where I'm not being recognized? And it's a courageous thing to do, because we hold on to these like scraps and slivers, it's like, oh, you're just holding on to people or things that are just giving us tiny bits of energy or tiny bits of money or scraps of what, of food. And we're afraid to let that go because we'll have nothing. But then it's if we let that go, then we can open up to real abundance, flowing of money and food and resources and anything, energetic. So it takes a lot of courage because, for me, I'm letting go of 17 years of an identity, and now what? all I have left is me. And for me, that's good enough. And then it's then stepping out into the world going, I am good enough for me. And now do I have the courage to go, hi world, it's me, and see what happens. Thank you for listening.